this year's virtual summit 2023. And today we have John here, and he's going to talk about controlling Froggy Fobbles with xlights. John, if you want to take over, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon if you're on the East Coast time. Yeah, I'm going to talk about connecting your Froggy Fobbles to xlights so you can actually generate fog and bubbles with your display. Oh, that's the wrong. I went backwards. Up. Somehow. Let me figure out what's going on. Try that. So adding fog, bubbles, and fobbles to your display can create additional excitement to the viewers. I know that when I run the bubbles, the kids just dance in the street. Being able to connect your machine to your show allows you to control the elements with xlights, which is always fun. And you can emphasize the powerful movements in the music and adds drama to your show. You know, the first year I had it, I was always going out there with a little controller and making it go. But once I figured out how to wire it into my controller and via xlights, it just sort of runs on its own. I'm in Round Rock, Texas. This is my 6th year doing xlights, but I've been doing Christmas lights as long as I've been a homeowner. I actually had one of those Mr. Christmases for years, 6-channel output. Besides lights, I do barbecue in the rodeo. I'm the chair of the hospitality committee at the Austin Rodeo, where we feed 150 people meals 3 days a week for about 18 days. I also run a barbecue university. And that's a picture of me at an auction. We were auctioning off that shotgun. I don't actually own the shotgun. Here, let me show some demo videos. I pulled some video out of my show. Just to give you an idea of what it can do. It's just a couple of clips. And you can see that the fog comes out at certain times of the song. This is the So again, what we're able to do is just at certain points, you can pop some fog out. And here I just had the fobbles going for a Christmas, for the xlights around the world song. So that's some examples of what we can do. So let's talk about how we do it. So the process overall is you've connect your Fobbles machine to a controller. You add the fog machine as a prop in xlights, and then you can add the DMX elements into a sequence. It sounds simple, but it took a lot of work to get it to work. So the hard part was really connecting the Fobbles to the controller. The old school way to do it, the way I had it done, was you have to have a controller with a DMX port. I've got a Falcon, so that has the built-in DMX port, but then we have to build a wire and connect it to the port in the controller. The new school way is give David Peace some money, because David, Experience Lights, now has a pixel to DMX that plugs right into the machine, and you can hook it up to one of your light outputs. I've been trying to get one, but they're still out of stock, so I didn't have one to actually try and demo for this class. So let's build a cable. That's really the critical thing. You have to have a DMX cable. So the DMX cable I was using was this one from Amazon. You can see it's got the pins on one end, but it's got Ethernet on the back end. We're going to end up cutting off that Ethernet point, but it at least has, it has the cable. So so the wiring on it is you're going to connect the white on the DMX cable to the orange on the Ethernet cable, the red to the orange stripe, and copper to both the black and the black stripe. Once we get that done, it just plugs right into the DMX port, and then it plugs into the back of your Fobbles machine. The other thing you have to do on the Fobbles machine is you have to set the input. You have to set the DMX channel. I just set mine to 1 because it's the only DMX item I've got. And the other thing is you want to set it to 15 channel. So in xlights, you create a DMX model. I name mine Fogger. You set it to 15 channels. From the Fobbles manual, we've got the red, green, white colors, a port, and set the DMX channel to 1, because that's what you set it on the Fobbles. So you can see here, here's a screenshot out of my xlights. I called it a Fogger. It's set up on my Falcon. It's 15 channels. Red channel is 5, green is 6, blue is 7, white is 9. That's for this one. It's a DMX protocol and DMX channel 1, and it's port 3 on the Fogger on the controller. So when you go into xlights and you go to visualizer, you can just drag it right over to that port 3. Let's see, it looks like there's questions. Okay, not for me. No questions yet. Okay, so that's how I set it up as a prop. When we go into xlights, drop the DMX element where you want it to fire. Channel 15 is where you set the machine action. For short fog bursts, I like to use the value 25, which is 50% fog. And then channels 14 and 11 sets the lights on the machine. So here's what it looks like from the Froggy Fogger manual. So you can set it for 25% fog, 50, 100, bubbles, you don't want to use Fobbles, you use fog in small bubbles or fog in large bubbles. So you can set it for, you can play with it and get the actual effect that you're looking for. Here's the color macro chart, or the color value chart. And I pulled all this right out of right out of the manual that's online. So let me go into xlights, just show you how it's actually set up, because I forgot that screenshot. Let's see. So here's my fogger. It's a DMX setting. Drag it down. Over here's where you set the channel values. So like I said, channel 15 is the actual machine effects. Channel 11 and channel 14 are your lights. So channel 11 is the light, and channel 14 is that's the value that sets your the LED overall controller. So you can set it at how bright you want your LEDs to fire. So those are the channels that we set up. I said drag and drop this. Some of the things I learned about it is it's real easy to run through all your fog. So the higher level you run it, the more fog, and the more you run it through, you can run through the reserve easily in an hour. So what I end up doing is I only run it on the weekends. I just turn the machine off so I don't have to change sequences. And that's why you can see that I'm only using like 10, 15-second bursts of fog at various points in the song. I run my show probably 4 hours a night, for Christmas and Halloween, or 3 hours. And yeah, I can go through the whole thing of fog in about half that time. So the key is, pick your points, don't run it too long. With fog, if you have the right weather, the fog will just haze up and float and hang there for you. Here in Texas, it can be still in the 80s and 90s at Halloween and through October. So sometimes the fog sort of dissipates quick. So you got to make sure that we run it through that. And then when you're running the bubbles, be sure that you clean it out well every night, because the tray can get sticky, and you can get, if you don't clean it out, it can lock up, and you have to take some hot water and soap it up in there. I ran through that really quick. So questions. So let's talk about questions, and we can go back and cover some of anything that I went through a little too fast.
Hey, John, are you gonna cover how to connect on like Culp 40 with like I think it's called the TTYS port?
Yeah, I couldn't get that to work, so that's why I went with the Falcon. Because I have both a Culp and a Falcon, so I couldn't figure out how to get that to work, which is why I went with the Falcon. I would suggest, I would really suggest that anyone who's got the Fobbles to go ahead and pick up this Pixel to DMX thing from xlights. Because really, it took trying to wire this up, because you have to hack the cable and splice it up and connect it all in. And, that copper cable is the copper cable in that Ethernet, in the DMX thing is not all that easy to work with, because it's just, it's a bunch of stranded cables, and you got to solder it up really well.
Yeah, I got mine to work, but yeah, it's a real pain in the butt. It's 26 gauge, I think.
Yeah. It was, because I've got a couple of Culps and I've got a Falcon, and I was going to retire the Falcon and just use the Culps because they're wireless. I can connect wirelessly to the Beagle Bones and the Pies, but it just got to the point where trying to get that cable wired just didn't work. So I pulled the Falcon back out, and it's literally got the Ethernet jacks right there. The DMX port's right on it. Yeah, because if we look at here, we'll go to Falcon. No, it's not. It's not Falcon. Falcon controller. Yes, pixelcontroller.com. So if you look at if you look at the Falcons, they actually have the three. Let's find a Falcon. Come on, controllers. With the Falcon, you literally have 3 DMX ports right there that just take an Ethernet cable, snap it in. Once you go ahead and wire it up, it's easy, because you can just say, okay, I'm going to use port 1, and then connect it up. Then it's easy to set up an xlights, because you can go back over to your layout or your controllers. Falcon. Use the visualizer, and you can just drag it where you want to.
Can you go over the effects? I thought I saw that you're using actual effects on the channels instead of like an on off. Is there a
Yeah.
reason for that?
No, not really, probably. I mean, the thing with the thing with the fog, the Fobbles is, you know, you have to set, if you want lights, you have to set 2 different channels, because you have to set the light intensity, because it's 0. I mean, it's off until you set it to whatever intensity you want. And then you've got to set the color. And then on the other point is you have to set it to what volume you want. So as we're looking at this, you know, you've got to set it to a different value, and you may want different things at different times in your show. So I've always just set the channel to this value in here for the value of what I want to do. Usually I'm in this, you know, for fog, I'm in this 25 to 50%. You know, sometimes I'll shoot a big thing, sometimes I'll shoot a small one, because if you get it up any higher than that, you know, you just burn through the juice, and you can literally, you know, if you have too much fog running, you can literally burn through the entire reservoir in one song if you just let it play.
Have you found with the Fobble machine that you need to like offset a delay so that like if you want like something's popping in your display and you want the fog to come out at that point, are you offsetting it a little earlier to get that fog machine to ramp up and push?
No, really, because once you turn it on, and you know, I have the machine turned on, so it's all warmed up. It's just sitting on, ready to go, and it fires right on time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because if we look at, oh, where did I have that? We go back to the video. Yeah, the first one's a Grim Gritting Ghost. So you can see it fires pretty much right at the same time as xlights. I had it in xlights firing at right at the beginning. So as soon as the music gets that sound, and it starts to fire.
I think he might be referring to the AC controlled ones where you have that little box with the what is it, green, red, and yellow buttons, and with the timers on it. You would always have to sequence it so a little earlier so that it would have that ramp up time to warm up and then push.
Well, I got my Fobble machine last year and I got it used. I had to rebuild the steamers in it and whatnot. They were all messed up. So trying to get it to work with DMX and xlights was a real problem for me late into the season. It was screwing up my start channels. I really messed up my show by using it. So I ended up taking it out. But I did notice, I think, and it's the Froggy's Fobble machine, that when I wanted like an effect or when a certain effect, especially like you were talking about, you know, your Star Wars, you know, for the fog to come out, I think I had to set it to, I had to adjust it so that it would come out before the timing mark for the audio that I wanted, so that it would ramp up. Because I think the fog, and I may be wrong, but I think the fog doesn't come out exactly on time, or at least it's not thick. So that's why I was asking, since you've got a lot more experience with it than I do.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm using, to answer the question Jordan had, I'm using the F4, the Fobbles F4 model. And I thought there was video of this. I mean, I thought there was audio. It was playing on my computer, so I must not have set something right. But let's see if I can copy that. I will paste the link in the chat, so if anyone wants to go and see the videos themselves, they can hear the video. No, I'm using, to answer this question about the fog juice, I'm actually using the Fobbles fog juice from Froggies. I'm just buying it straight from them. I found that is easier. And yeah, I'm using the Fobbles F4. You know, like I said, depending on the weather and the wind, sometimes the effect is really good, and sometimes it just the wind just picks it up and pushes it out. That's the reason when I have it in my display, I have it sitting right. I have it sitting on a stand as low as I can get it, right by my P4 panel. So it's right in the center of the show. And so it sort of pushes out in the center, but depending on which way the wind blows, sometimes it goes all sorts of directions, or sometimes it just sort of disappears. But there are times when it'll hang around really well. Let's see. The link doesn't work. That's strange. Okay. View on YouTube. Let's try the link again. Try that link. What other questions do we have? Did somebody ask to go back about the cable? So the cable is let's see if I can get Amazon to show it back up. XLR to RJ45 cable, male and female, you know, comes with two cables. You just need the one that uses for the input to the fog machine. And like I said, I originally thought, hey, good, it's got a Ethernet, I can just connect them, but that didn't work at all. So that's when I had to start Googling, and I finally found that wiring diagram. So yeah, white to orange, red to orange stripe, and copper to both black and the black stripe.
Just to comment here that your Pixel store have a DMX to cult controller cable.
Oh, they do?
Yeah,
Cool.
that plugs into the TTY ports.
See, didn't even know about that one. Yeah, yeah. The only one I'd found was David's. This one, the Pixel DMX, and I haven't been able to try that one yet.
I just dropped
Yeah,
it.
I'm waiting for it.
I just dropped the link in chat.
Cool. I'll take a look at that one too. So overall, though, the fog's really nice. You know, you can get a really good effect. You know, people like it because it adds that little bit of eerie stuff at Halloween. So the fog machines are not weatherproof. So what I do is I've got a little stand on it, so it sits a little bit above the ground, so it doesn't get any ground moisture. And then typically what I do is I use a black storage bin, and I cover the top of it when I'm not using it. I also use a bicycle block cable to chain it to a tree by it so it doesn't walk off. Let's see, any other questions? I didn't realize this thing was going to go so fast.
Hey, John, what's the difference there between fog and haze in the values, and why does it have those?
The haze is slightly different. I haven't used haze a lot, but you know, usually I use the fog or the bubbles. I haven't played with the haze a lot, so I couldn't really tell you it's hard to describe the exact difference, but like I said, I copied this right out of the Fobbles manual. So if you go to the Froggy site and download the PDF or actually get the physical manual, you know, it has all these values, so it's actually sort of fun to play with. You know, just set it up and use that slider. The question is, I'm using the Froggy Fobbles F4 machine.
Yeah, that's the one I have. So really, is it? Would you use a different fluid for haze that you would use for fog?
No, you should be able to use the same fluid for everything.
Okay.
I've used the haze. It's just like a haze. It's not a fog. It's not clear. It's just somewhere in between. It's really, in my opinion, not worthwhile. I don't know. Maybe DJs would use it for like lasers and whatnot. That way you still have clarity of the stage, but you can have lasers shooting through it, is my guess.
Yeah, I mean, I've been using the fog for Halloween because it adds that, you know, that smoky effect that you sort of want. You know, it's, you know, it'd be nice if you could, you know, put a chiller on it, but you can't really put a chiller on this machine, you know, to get it to stick to the ground a little bit better.
But you'd really want that for bubbles anyway, and that's really what the
Yeah. I mean, I really like, I mean, you know, I live in Texas. We're never gonna have snow at Christmas. We're probably not. So being able to push out those fobbles at Christmas time, you know, when you're playing some Christmas songs, the kids just think the fobbles are the greatest thing in the world because they're the fog filled bubbles, and they just like to pop them and see the fog sort of poof. It's
The adults love them too.
yeah, adults love them too. But yeah, so that's what I mean. In my display, I don't get a lot of drive traffic. It's mostly walkers from the neighborhood. So on any given night, I could have 20 kids standing outside watching the display, and then when the bubbles come on, they just, you know, they just dance around and pop bubbles. And sometimes it's a little hard to keep them out of the yard depending on which way the wind's blowing.
I think I did see an earlier question about what X model did you use to put that in xlights?
The model, let's see, we'll go back to xlights layout. I used, let's find it again. I used a
Looks like a moving head DMX.
yeah, it's I just used I just used the DMX model. Yeah, so we can I just used the general DMX one. Yeah, DMX general. No, I didn't use a DMX. Yeah, DMX general. Then you can set the number of channels. Now on the Fobbles, you know, you actually have to set it up on the back, you know, with the control panel, and you can set it to either 7 or 15 channels. Set it to 15 so you can get the extra effects. Like I said, I just set the channels, you know, the color channels based on the values from the manual. Oh, I didn't get that page, but there's the color chart. So the manual actually itself has all the DMX values in it that you need, and it's really and it was really helpful for trying to get it set up. Some of the tricks of it were, if we look at the downloads. So there's a 6-channel mode and a 15-channel mode. So if you look at the modes, you've got your fog volume. If you want to set all this stuff individually, you can do that. I'm just using the LED, the macro values here. You can do a chase or a strobe, but here's the master LED one. That's channel 14. So if you don't set this to on, even if you set a light value, you won't get any lights on. You have to make sure that you set the master dimmer to something in order to get it to run, because otherwise it's off and it won't run. That one took me a little bit to figure out too, because I couldn't just set a color. I actually had to make sure I turned the light on and then set the color. Anything else? Any other questions?
If there is no other questions, maybe you could go through the different type of foggers that Froggy sells.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
okay.
Let's take a look at them. So like I said, I got the F4, which is the 4-in-1 fog, haze, bubbles, and fog bubbles. The fog bubbles are amazing. They've got an F3 package and an F4 and an F8 Pro.
Looks like they've redesigned the F4 a little bit.
Does it? Because it looks like the same one I got. I mean, I got mine, I guess.
Like the two fans in the very front on the bottom.
Oh,
that
yeah.
looks the same as yours.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, because it's also got the two bubble wands.
I believe there's like a version that's only 199 and it only has one blower.
Yeah, that would be the F3.
I'll have to go look and see what I got.
Yeah, the F3's got the one wand and the one blower. But I'm betting user's manual for the F3. Oh yeah, the F3 is only a 6-channel. So I mean, it would work the same way. You would just have to set your channels differently.
James just put one in chat that
Okay.
looks like it's from Lowe's, and that one does look like similar to the middle one.
Okay.
It's a
What's
little
the-
different looking.
Oh yeah, it's got the squares instead of the big fans. Yeah, I wonder if that is an older one. Yeah, for me, the hardest part in all of this was figuring out how to wire it into the controller so the controller could see it. Once you get that wiring done and it's connected to your system and everyone can, it can be seen as a prop, the xlight stuff gets pretty easy. And it's a lot of fun to sit there and sequence it like any other prop, because then you can go, oh, I wonder if I want fog here. Let's see what it might look like. And then you can go out and watch it and come back and figure out, well, do I need it longer or shorter? But as I said, you have to be careful with how much you're using it, because the first time I had it, the first night I had it running, I was running it for like 30 seconds, and then I'd keep it up, 30 seconds or a minute, and I just like ran through that whole fog chamber in an hour.
Hey, John, with
Yeah.
that pixel to DMX from Experience Lights, do you just put that in a pixel chain or at the end of a pixel chain, and then in xlights, do you just use DMX effects as if it was connected to a DMX port?
Yeah, so I mean, you're still going to set up your prop as a DMX prop, You're still going to sequence it as it's just, it becomes a prop that's either on a port, rather than having to connect it to on your controller, rather than having to connect it down here to a DMX port, it becomes you would just drag your model here or some other port, whatever port you had it connected to, and you're done with the wiring.
Okay, cool.
So that, and like I said, the wiring took me months to figure out how to get that right, because I was Googling and asking questions and trying to find answers, and it just took forever to find some random link that had that, the Ethernet to DMX that would work on the Fobbles. And somebody said I set up the buttons plug in on FEP to call the effective. Well, that's cool. The buttons plug in. I've actually used the buttons plug in. I've got lights on my patio around the edge of the roof over the patio, and I've got the buttons set up to do different colors. So if I want blue or red or white, I can just hit a button on my pad and I can get the different colors. But I didn't think of the buttons for this. Anything else while we're here? We've got time since I sort of race through the PowerPoint.
I did notice on their site, Froggy site, there actually is X models for all their machines.
There wasn't before. Where would that? Let's see. Where would you find? Where's it on their site?
Was it under downloads maybe? I've just seen something that said downloads.
Yeah. So let me go back to the F4.
I'm pretty
Bottom
sure it's
left.
under downloads. I'm looking now.
Okay.
John, if you go back to where you were, it's at the very bottom in the black bar that says downloads up
Okay.
right there.
Downloads.
No,
Let's see.
not there.
Yeah. I mean, if they've added it,
Can
that'd be
you,
cool.
touch the magnifying at the top and say X model?
Yeah. Let's try that.
Worth a shot, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, we should talk to the Froggies guy the next time we see him at one of the minis. Yeah, I saw him 2 years ago at Florida, and he helped me figure out a couple other pieces of this.
Yeah, you should talk to Tater and see if he'll
Yeah.
get the model added to xlights. I
Yeah,
think it's a nominal fee.
yeah, that'd be even better than having to create a generic model.
I don't remember who I got my model from, but I have the official model for the F415 channel.
Well, heck, that would have been a
I
whole lot
wonder
easier.
if I could download it and post it as a file.
Actually, it's on a Dropbox.
Is
I
it?
found it in a video, Learn Christmas Lighting. He did foggers. And in one of his links, he has the Dropbox link. And if you click it, it shows all the foggers with the X models.
So just by curiosity, how many people are using the fog machines and are doing it manually? Do you guys just tend to click on it, or how are you connecting yours?
With Halloween, we're using the remote, and we're out on the driveway with everybody.
I just shared the model for you guys if you want it.
Yeah,
It's in the chat.
I'm gonna grab that. grab that and see how see how it's different than what I ended up building.
It's very similar.
Yeah, when I was playing with this, trying to get it working, my garage was like fill with fog. I kept playing with it next lights. Okay, well, let's try this setting. Let's try this one until I got to do what I wanted. But yeah,
I put the link in the chat for the video that shows it, and then the link for the Dropbox too. I'm pretty sure I did the Dropbox. I'm not sure. It don't look like it did it right.
so anything else while we're here? Anything else we want to talk about on foggers? Because I'd love to hear other people doing it. I know I got it working, and I know there's a lot of questions about it on the boards, how to get it working. So that's why I wanted to share this. At least how I got mine working. Has anyone tried the color bubbles? I know that Froggy's actually got the UV techno bubbles. I was wondering how that would work if you use the black light on the foggers. They have the black light, or they have the UV on it.
I'd love if there was a way to build a chiller for the F4 because down in South Florida, it's so hot here anyways, and then you get a little bit of wind and it's just gone down the street. I'll smoke out our entire street and not my yard.
Yeah, that happens to me a lot of times. That's why I don't only run it in short bursts, because yeah, sometimes if the wind's blowing the wrong way, it just sort of floats down the street. Yeah, but a chiller would be nice or something. Usually I just pray for a cooler damp night, because on the damp nights it tends to stick a little better.
Have you thought about doing the old redneck way and having two coolers, one full of ice, the other one with the fogger maybe in it, and with a fan that's in the ice side that blows the cold air into the other cooler to keep the fogger a little cooler? Would that work?
I'm not sure that
Yeah,
would work with the
that might
fob.
work.
Oh,
If
really?
you could get it close enough to the intake, you could probably make that work. I was kind of interested in Kyle Bostick, I think, is the one that was using dryer vents to put it out in different parts of his yard. But I think he's using one of the other fog machines.
Yeah, I saw that video on building the chiller using the garbage can and the dry ice, but I couldn't figure out how to get it out, considering the way the vents come out, or because they tend to come out of the vents, how to get that into something else. And then you'd have to take it apart because it wouldn't work for the bubbles or the fog bubbles.
And back in the day, me and my stepson had taken a cooler, one of those styrofoam coolers, and put dry ice in there. And then we had the dryer vent tubes coming out of there. And that's what caused our fog, or made our fog.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you can. Okay, so somebody says ultrasonic works better than ice chiller. In the sense, yeah, I haven't tried the sense. Yeah, and the last time I looked, JR was sold out of the fog machines, but maybe he's got some back. And yes, for the for Fobbles, it does require different juice for the fog and the bubbles. So it doesn't. Let's see if it's got a better picture of it. So you can see here in the back, there's a chamber, and it's like a plastic plastic container, and that's where the fog juice goes. And then when you want to use the bubbles, you actually you see that it looks like there's a tray sitting right here in front of the wands. So you actually fill the tray with your bubble juice. And so, you know, these wands spin, and it's just like an air blows out through these vents. So it just sort of looks like someone taking a bottle of bubbles and just blowing bubbles. It's just going through and picking up the bubble juice, coming up here, and it's getting blown out. And so when you do fog bubbles, actually, instead of blowing air into the bubbles, it's blowing fog. So if you're doing fog bubbles, you actually use both the fog juice and the bubble juice. Now the fog juice you can leave in the container, but the bubble juice, it gets sticky, and if it dries out, it'll gum everything up. So you need to make sure that you empty out that container and rinse it out every night.
Does vinegar help do that? Clean it up?
I just tend to take a hose and wash it out. You know, I'll like I said, I'll run them just on the weekends, Friday, Saturday. So on Sunday, I'll take it out there and run a little bit of water through it and dry it off with paper towels.
And then the other question I would have is, if you were to run the fog machine continuously and not shut it off, how long would it last until you have to refill it? Same with the bubbles.
I haven't tried to run it continuously, but it wouldn't last long. I think if you ran it continuously, you'd probably only get it, I don't know, 30 minutes, maybe an hour tops.
Yeah, I think I got maybe an hour out of it.
Yeah.
Just trying to give the guys an idea of how long.
But that was at
I'll fill with
100%
big-
fog too, which is a tremendous amount of fog.
Yeah. Because it's blowing out pretty high volumes. So that's why, you know, like I said, you know, in order to make it last all through an evening, all through the show time, I'll do it in bursts. I'll do it in small bursts, 25 or 50, depending on what I want it to do and how much I want it to sort of hang. And I'll just burst at certain points in the song. You know, if we get a big point in the song, I'll burst them out, or I'll burst them out at the beginning. You know, if we get that little spooky music, I'll burst them out at the beginning. And even with the fobbles, you know, I'll probably burst that out, you know, at the beginning of a song. Usually I do it at the beginning of certain songs, and any song that sort of has snow in it or something like that, or if there's snow in the video, I'll pop some out there. But yeah, if you just let it run, you'll just burn through your stuff really fast. I mean, I think last year for Halloween, I mean, I run my show most of October, and I probably ran through 4-gallon jugs of the fog juice in that 3 weeks. Let's see.
Do you guys have any more questions for John? And if not, I can end the recording and
Make sure I got all the questions answered here in chat.
John, do you want to show how you did some of the effects on the different channels in xlights through a sequence?
Actually, I've actually got a sequence, here's a sequence. This was a Grim Grinning Ghosts, one of the videos I played. So I just have the fog coming on. You can see I've got I've got it set, Dragon DMX. I'm only using it about 10-15 seconds. I don't have my glasses. I can't see my screen, old guy problems. Yeah, it's 15 seconds. I've got it burst for 15 seconds here, and I've got it burst for 15 seconds there. And like I said, the burst on it is, you know, I'm doing 25 for the lights. You know, I've got the volume, got the channels all set up. I always forget the numbers. Channel 11 is, you know, the color. And this one I'm setting it to what, 50% fog. So that's why I sit down here at 25. So I've got it to a low light because I mean, you know, there's a lot of lights, so I don't want it overwhelming the actual lights in the show. But it's sort of cool to have that light flying through the fog. And, you know, literally you just drag the DMX thing, set it there, and it'll fire.
So I got it.
Once you figure out the values, you know, the right values for the channels, sequencing it is really easy.
So I got a question about the fog machine.
Uh-huh.
So do you have to clean it, like put cleaner in, or no?
No, I mean, I clean that tray out. If I'm using bubbles,
Yeah.
I clean it out after I'm done. You know, I'll run it Friday, Saturday, then I'll clean it on Sunday, rinse it out, clean it, dry it off. Because one time I didn't, and I let it go for a couple of days, and it was just gummed up. I had to use hot water and get that bubble juice out.
I was talking about the fog machine itself, like the insides. You have to like put because usually they sell the special fluid you have to put in. It says that cleans it out.
I haven't ever cleaned the inside of my machine out.
Oh, okay.
It's been running a couple of years. You know, I mean, I only use it at Christmas, so it doesn't get a huge, I mean, at Halloween and Christmas. But yeah, I haven't run anything through that. Like I said, the big thing for me was the tray with the wands in it, because you know, because they can get stuck and they won't turn because you know, they're just gummed up.
Yeah.
Get over here.
Oh,
I
sorry.
think,
Background noise.
I think Froggy's recommends at the end of the season running a bottle of distilled water through the fogger and just
Okay.
because it heats it up and cleans it up. But even I've had my machine for a few years now, and I haven't done that. But I do think Froggy's recommends at the end of the season run distilled water and then put fog solution back in to keep it from drying. So that's what they recommend.
Yeah, because I just lost 2 foggers this year. They weren't foggers. They're just, you know, cheap ones, but I just lost 2 of them last year. I was trying to figure out how to prevent that. Okay.
Some other people will just say to leave a little bit of the fog juice in the bottom of the bottle so that tip stays wet. And then Froggy's also says do not use vinegar because it will pit the little tip. But yeah, I agree that they were talking about distilled water for running it through the fogger at the end of the season.
Yeah,
Okay.
that makes sense because that'll clean up any other residue that's still in there.
And
I'll do that this year.
can you use your own fog fluid as well?
I've never tried. I know some people have recipes, but I've just been using Froggy's fluid because I figured that's, you know, it's
best.
made. Well, no, it's made for the machine.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get. You know, you can place an order and you know it'll come.
Does it smell? It doesn't have any smell to it, does it?
No, not the straight fog fluid. Well, I mean, it smells like fog. I mean, it's got a distinctive smell, but it's not, doesn't smell like anything.
Yeah, it's not scented.
Yeah.
Well, oh God, don't get me started on scented fog. That's.
Yeah.
But I was talking about usually what happens is when the kids would have the fog machines going and the kids would start hacking up because of the fog because of the fog. I was wondering if that was an issue with the foggy fluid.
I haven't noticed any of that with their premium brand fog fluid.
Because it's like I usually make my own, but it doesn't last a year though, because it gets like black shit growing in it. Ugh.
Yeah, that's probably mold. That's probably not.
Yeah,
good.
I don't use it, obviously. I dump it. I don't want to put ammonia in it because I don't want any stuff in. Because usually the benefit of not putting anything in it is that when it goes, it doesn't smell like anything and it doesn't hurt anyone's lungs.
Yeah,
and it's crazy thick.
Yeah, I'm just not putting out enough fog, and
Yeah.
and you know, I have it set back in the yard a little bit, so it'll fog in front of the lights to create the effect, but I don't fog right in front of the kids.
Okay.
Okay, we've only got 5 more minutes left of this class, so we're gonna have to wrap it up here.
Okay. Anything else?
Oh, no, I'm good. I would say this, I didn't realize how simple DMX was to set up an xlights though.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
I mean, once you know the values, DMX is easy. It's like I said, the hard part was making the connection so that you know the things will talk to each other.
Yeah.
And now people are solving that. So you know, because somebody posted there's now a linkage, you know, thing you can buy that'll connect between your Culp and DMX, and you know, Experience Lights has their pixels to DMX. So you know, there's so many things now you can do to connect to your DMX machines. It's just a matter of looking at the manual and finding the right values.
Is there any way to like put like a funnel on the bubble parts? You don't have to keep on refilling it. That's my question.
That's a tray. You just sort of pour it in.
Yeah, I know, but you keep on. You say it runs out very quick though.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. The fog runs out faster. I've always run out of fog before bubbles.
Okay, if that's all, then I'm gonna
And recording.
and
Great.
thank you, John, for presenting that to us.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, John.